Well, hello everyone. It is the first week of August in 2025, and we bought ourselves a house and 5 acres just outside of Green Bay. We're just making this video to give you kind of a little rundown on the property, what we're thinking for future plans, and kind of future of this YouTube channel. We're mainly just gonna make videos of stuff that we're kind of doing around the property to fix things up. Chickens, livestock, gardening, a bunch of projects that are going to happen. So we'll start out with just a very quick property tour. Front yard spacing area here between the house and the road is probably about 3/4 of an acre. We do have a line of raspberries here that we took from our old property and just kind of shoved down on the ground. It was definitely a little bit late. Some of them have not done so well, but at least it looks like a couple are going to survive and should be good for next year. Put out shoots and then we can move them to a place of our choosing. This year we're mainly going to be focusing on the inside of the property. It is actually a decent house, well framed, very original to 1972. So we're taking care of a lot of cosmetic upgrades on the inside just to get it where we want. Additionally, there's another reason that we are going to be focusing on the inside of the house this year. So the back half of the property here, probably about 3.75 or 4 acres in total, as you can see, is all deer fenced in. There's 2 main paddocks, one up here in the front. You can see the back post there is kind of just a basic square shape. And then the one on the outside that includes kind of the woods over there is kind of a big L shape that sweeps around. And the reason that we are not going to be focusing on the outside too much this year is that we're deer fenced in for deer. The property in the back here is currently being used as a deer farm. There's about 13-ish bucks and does back here as a condition of the sale. They stay on until November, where they get sold off to a game farm and or processed. So not a whole lot of focus here. You can see up in this front part, we have kind of a chicken coop, which could definitely use some TLC. We have a shed building here, which is probably like a 10 by 10, maybe 15 by 10. We have kind of a structure in okay shape here that's got feed trough for the deer. We have a frost-free tap here, so don't need to shut off water to this, good year round. And then we also have a this is a water here that they use for the deer. It does have a heating element in it, which is important in Wisconsin come winter time. And we have added in some little copper pipes into these, and it has helped the water quality substantially in these. So fun little tip and trick there. With the property as it came, we got a rooster and 2 hens that we inherited. They stay in ours. We've since added on to that and have some plans to add on. More on that in a later video. So this is kind of, you can see the backside of the house. Dogs floating around there, right, Pancake? Are you a good girl? Yes. So we haven't let her really in here yet, just for fear that she's would definitely try and herd the deer, and with them not being ours, and bucks that go to a game farm are actually pretty expensive, so we don't want any issues there. Hey Richard, this is Richard the rooster. He's really good, challenges the dog or anyone that gets up close to the gate. And then so we'll take, I guess, a little walk around. We have some areas here. We definitely need some cleaning in this kind of tree outcropping. Another one here is actually a bunch of wood. There is some sheet metal siding there, which might be useful for some future projects. And you will notice there is a fence line that runs along here with another kind of gate that goes into a paddock this way. There's another 1.25 acres this way. We actually do not own that portion. Same with initially when we walked through, there's kind of a shop building and a garage off to the side. Property was split in a divorce between a wife and a husband. Wife got the house and the 4.5 acres. husband got the 1.25 acres and the shop building. The wife passed away last year, which is why this portion went up for sale. We have first right of refusal on the other paddock over here. The gentleman that owns it, he doesn't really come here too often at all. He's about 86, and he'll either be looking to sell or it will pass on to his children eventually, and in which case, either one of those scenarios, we have kind of the first right on the land, already a pre-negotiated kind of rate. Oh, looks like I see a set of antlers here. We can show you one of the boys. This is all kind of in this first paddock. It's a little over 1 acre, I want to say. Where'd we go? Oh, there we are. So, nice wide rack on a lot of these guys that are here. Said they stay till kind of November. They move freely between all 3 paddocks right now. We don't have anything fenced off. You can kind of see the limit of our land here in the second paddock. Just where my finger is, there's a post. Beyond that is an open field owned by property owners beyond this paddock over there. They've kind of let it just go to pasture, and then beyond that is a creek. Closer to a river, but still creekish at this stage. The second paddock, you can see there's a little bit of scrap down there that we'll definitely need to clean up at some point. There's another frost-free spigot, and then kind of like above, there's another structure here. This one's pretty dilapidated, but kind of same feel for these. And we'll walk over this way, and actually kind of in this area where the woods is, we have a little bit of a water feature. It's not quite a spring based on the water flow, it's more of a seep. There's very light water flow that kind of pools out of it down at a low spot in the woods, kind of, well, higher spot than here, but a low spot for where it is relatively up on the hill. And then it kind of flows downwards naturally through the property towards the creek that's on the back side of our property. So we can probably see it a little bit here if we just snake up on this ridge. Yeah, so down in here is the flow line for where water comes out of there, and we'll walk around the bottom side. Also an apple tree here. Pretty well picked over from the deer though, but there's about 5 apple trees on this property already. A lot of them are kind of old legacy cultivars that are either Wisconsin bred or are some other popular ones from quite a few years back. Most of them not super good eating. They're either good storage or baking. So it is the first week of August here. You can see this bed is a little dried up, but if we get down here, you can still see the moisture. It is clay, but it does press down a bit, so it still has the signs of wetness, but there's no active flow from it right now. My guess is if we would trace our path, so you can see it gets a little bit wetter here, obviously the hoof prints from the deer. If we trace the path further up into the woods, there is some water that sits there kind of in a pool. It's just not enough to actively like flow down right now. But throughout all of the spring and the early part of the summer, that area was flowing pretty well. So this back paddock is actually pretty expansive. We'll pop on over to the fence line here and just take a run around the outside, show you guys kind of the wooded area that there is. And this is where Editor Drew pops in just to say thank you so much for watching. And if you want to see more, please like and subscribe. Fun walk. You can see out into everything here. So despite the property only being about 5 acres, it's actually pretty decent size in terms of dimensional layout. So it actually feels pretty deep. And it's cool that we do have a little bit of topography here with the hill, water feature, woods versus open areas. When we first found the property and walked around, we were just blown away that this could be this close to town at a decently affordable price. So we'll walk down and around here. You can see we're fenced all along this property line. And then into this area, you know, there's going to be a fair amount of clearance that needs to happen here. And we're going to be shifting some fence lines. Basically, when anything would fall, they would just toss all the brush in here because it was good for the deer to bed down and stuff. So, which we get, but not kind of lining up with our future plans. Yes, we have more of the bed here. The seep kind of originates in this area. There's a little bit of a culvert for it to flow down, and then it kind of moves out there. So we'll see if we can get a little bit closer in there. But it gives you kind of a idea of what this area is like. Definitely more rugged, as you can see. A lot of fallen trees. So as we look more in there, you can see it's definitely more moist in there. And we're doing this all in flip-flops, which is fun. That's all right. Like my feet to be nice and aired out. And there are huge trees in here. A lot of cottonwoods, and there are some willow trees, all of which are well over 75 or 100 feet tall. So here is kind of the origin spot for the seep in there. You can see there's a little bit of moisture that you can see. I don't know how well it's showing up on the camera, but in here it is pretty muddy, and it does, like I said, there's a little bit of a flow. So we're gonna try and expand that on the future, get this area kind of cleared out and improve that. Gonna see if we can improve the seep a little bit, maybe get like a wading pool set up there, just to make it more accessible and see if we can get kind of a year-round water flow as opposed to a mostly seasonal water flow. And then, oh look, there's some fawns. Zoom in on those guys. The fawns have been finally starting to get just a little bit more curious and adventurous. They're still pretty timid around people, I would say. We haven't really gotten close to any before they kind of bound off. Obviously, you can see some of the deer are not scared at all of people. Just kind of one of those things. It's really interesting to have the deer back here. A lot of good pictures with our son Walter and my wife Monica. Lots of fun to look at. You know, you can pet them. They're soft. It's been very cool seeing the antlers grow in. That part's been absolutely crazy. They can grow. The area that we're in right now is what we're eventually going to turn into more garden space. We're going to expand out the coop. This front fence line is probably going to come down and in favor of a little more closely fence in, probably with T-posts and a couple foot tall cattle panel or deer fencing as well. Eventually we're going to have kind of orchard raspberries will be there, as well as some fruit trees and other bushes and fruiting items. And then we will have an expansion of the chicken coop. We'll be doing some chicken tractors with broilers and meat birds in this area as well. This is going to be our big kind of usage area. As far as the fence lines, we're probably going to open up the fence lines here and on this side to let us get in on the property. Probably here as well. We're going to keep most of that back paddock line intact. We'll probably just run something either straight or down to make it a good paddock. We would eventually like some sheep down there, but we're still kind of planning and figuring all that out. And once again, that's not a this year item, just due to the fact that the deer are here until November, by which point there is plenty of snow and cold temps here. It looks like Monica is over there. She might have gotten some eggs out of the coop. And then we have some more guys feeding. So that's kind of a very quick tour of the property, what we've got going on here. We'll discuss future plans more in depth at some point. right now this is just a video to kind of show everyone what's here and kind of rough ideas on our plans for the future. We think it's a super cool little property, and like I said, we're only about 15 minutes outside of Green Bay, so really good access, a lot going on for us here. Hey, buddy. And we're just really excited about everything that we're going to be getting into here. So curious to know if any of you have questions or have seen any properties kind of like this, especially if anyone's ever had a deer farm. Really interesting. It's interesting to see them in a domesticated setting as opposed to out in the wild. Medicine, I guess, is very interesting for them. They run off kind of a combination of advice for goats and cattle. It's the owner of the deer was telling us kind of all about the sagas of crazy things that can happen, and they can fight each other, and normal deer stuff that would happen in the wild, but when you're trying to farm them for antlers to get them to a game farm, you don't really want them sparring all that much if you can help it. So once again, we hope you guys are interested in what we're going to do here. We have a lot of super cool things to come. For sure, fixing up the chicken coop at some point. We're going to have to do a big clean out, just pretty quick here because it needs to happen. This shed is going to be a big organization job, just because right now the inside of it is absolutely filled with stuff, but some of it's their stuff for the deer versus ours. It's the interesting situation here, but once again, we're fine with it because it's kind of the perfect piece of property for us. We're close to family, and we're busy on the inside of the house anyways this year. And then, like I said, out here, there's going to be a lot of cleanup, and then the garden is going to be big priority for next year. So any recommendations anyone has for coop upgrades would be greatly appreciated. And then same with as we get into garden stuff, we're going to try out a bunch of different methods. Probably going to have some raised beds. We're going to have potentially some hugelkultur, and just a bunch of other crazy stuff. Probably going to try some Ruth Stout with potatoes. And we're just really excited to get into it because up until now we haven't had too much space for a garden. So now we're about to have as much as we can really handle. So lots of fun stuff on the way.